Hello, welcome to another great Light of the Southwest. This is Brant, your host today, with none other than a familiar couple, beautiful couple, Ralph and Mindy Seta of Messianic Dance Camps International. And of course, you can see their website, messianicdancecamps.com. How are you two doing today?
Hello,
Very
shalom.
good.
Shalom.
Wonderful to be here.
Well, great. Well, you know, people have heard your story on Sid Roth's Supernatural show. What's the name of that show again?
It's supernatural.
Okay, so be sure and edit that. Okay, we'll start that part again. 3, 2, 1. Plenty of people have seen your story on Sid Roth's show, and of course on GLC with your own Messianic dance show. Tell us what you're doing in the world right now.
Well, exciting things. I'm the eternal optimist. So right now we are preparing to go to Florida for Sukkot. We'll be in Florida for a couple weeks, and then we'll be in Southern California after that in October.
Fantastic.
That's what we're immediately doing, but we just finished a new project, a new DVD, and maybe you'll get to share some of that today.
Would love that. Well, actually, part of the show today, they're going to see some footage from that. And of course, this is what, the 26th DVD that you've done since 2001, I believe. And
yes.
You're not slowing down anytime soon. So what's the name of this newest one?
The new one is Arise.
Wow.
And the title, Mountain of the Lord, is beautiful, by Joshua Aaron. It's a beautiful dance and song. And they have various artists, Bat Rivka Witten, and others.
Wow, fantastic. Now, when you're going to California, and we're about to go into your backstory, because there's a lot of new viewers to GLC now. But before we do, are you going to be going by the Messianic synagogue that I believe both of you spent about 11 years in California? Is that part of the plan?
Probably not. We might see people because they're more, they're going to be about an hour and a half away from where we are. And we're just, we're like a 4-hour drive from the congregation we're going to be attending in California. So we're going to be more going to the south, and they're more to the north.
Wow.
North. I'm not sure if
To
it's east
the Pacific Northwest, God
Yeah.
willing.
Yeah. And so we won't see them on that trip. And in Florida, but usually what happens is, because it's not that far of a drive, for them, we're just going to be heading to the dance camp and then home when we go to California. But usually we have a few people visit from, there and other congregations in the area that, who kind of become part of our extended, really, ministry family.
Wow. Well, behind every great ministry is a great story. And in 1992, Mindy, that's when you first put your faith in Jesus, in Yeshua. Tell us about that, because you were not born a Christian. You were born, of course, Jewish.
Yes. So just so all you viewers know, on Rosh Hashanah, on Feast of Trumpets, I celebrated my 29th birthday knowing Yeshua. I got to find him actually on Rosh Hashanah. And one of the themes behind Rosh Hashanah is it's a new beginning. And so the Lord actually, it was like he took his holy shofar and blew it and woke me up, and I came to him. But basically, I grew up in a conservative Jewish family, pretty secular, so to speak. I mean, we went to shul or temple on the high holidays, lived within a block from the local congregation. But for me personally, it was a lot of tradition. Not that's bad, but for me it was really like, what food are we going to have on this holiday, or not food, and so that was really it. I was little when I went to temple, and I didn't really, I couldn't really connect or even like it for that matter. But basically, what I knew about my Judaism is that we do not believe in Jesus. That is a Christian God. And, that's not for us. Our Messiah is coming. And so as I grew up, I believed in God, but that God didn't necessarily have to be Jesus or not. The God I believed in was one who helped me get along in my day. That
Right.
was it. And when I was, several years later, I got married, and I didn't marry Ralph. I got married to someone else, and we were
What?
both, you know that.
Oh.
We were both secular. We were both secular and lived in LA. And right after we got married, my first husband said, well, if we have kids, shouldn't we raise them in a particular faith?
Mm-hmm.
And, we never talked about that. It wasn't like that wasn't even part of our thing. And so right after we got married, I prayed every day, and I just said, well, I'm not opposed to going to church, though I've always been raised Jewish. I've been taught that Jesus isn't our Messiah. And so I just asked God to show me, well, if he's not our Messiah, then who is our Messiah? And if he's not, why isn't he? And I don't know, something in me, well, I know it now, it's the Holy Spirit, the Ruach, prompted me to read the Tanakh, or the Old Testament, because I
Right.
thought, if I read the Old Testament, then I'm going to see what's so horrible about Jesus, because I thought for sure it would say it. All I grew up hearing is Jesus isn't our Messiah, Jesus is a Christian God, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I just thought I'll just start reading very methodically. I'll start in the first page, I'll start in Genesis and Bereshit and start reading and see what's so bad, because I thought it would say. And it took me a few months to read, but I did not see anything that would not, that you shouldn't believe in Jesus. In fact, I read all of these things that to me were talking about what I
Wow.
knew about Jesus, which wasn't very much, nothing really. And especially, when I got to the book of Isaiah and Isaiah 53, I was just flabbergasted. I just couldn't believe I was reading this. And to me, the scriptures were screaming Jesus. I mean, as a Jewish person, this is what I knew about Jesus.
Right.
I knew if I didn't believe in him, I was going to go to hell. And I knew that the Jews killed him. I mean, that I didn't know anything.
Right.
And so as I'm reading the Tanakh, the Lord was really wooing me and prompting me. And so when I finished the entire Tanakh, I shut it and I got down on my knees and asked God to atone for my sins,
Wow.
and asked Jesus to come into my heart. Now, the cool thing is that that day happened to be Rosh Hashanah. And for me, as I said, I was very secular. I was 10 months in my first marriage.
Right.
My husband at the time was away, on a trip. He worked away. And I like got up off the floor and I said, okay, I'm a Christian. That's fine. Now I can go to church with him. I asked Jesus into my heart. What do I do? And I called an old friend of the family who, what I thought used to be Jewish.
Right.
She had become a born again Christian. And what I saw in her life is she became a born again Christian because she had a terrible, terrible tragedy. And of course, she needed something to get her through. So I felt sorry for her, but she was the person who I decided to call because she used to be Jewish. So I thought, and asked Jesus into her heart. So I called her up on that Rosh Hashanah 29 years ago. And I asked her, I said, Helene, listen, happy Rosh Hashanah if you're celebrating, because you have to say that, it's only kind. I said, I just asked Jesus into my heart and I need to know what to do. And she was so excited. And she sort of started to scream like, angels are rejoicing in heaven. And, at that moment, I'm like, uh-oh, did I do the right thing? But she said, Mindy, I'm going to Rosh Hashanah services. And I was like, what? I thought you were a Christian. And she said, no, no, no. I'm Jewish and I believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jesus. And I'm going to a place where people are Jewish and not Jewish, but they celebrate all the holidays. And at first, what I thought was, oh my goodness, I'm still Jewish. And then I thought, oh, I could be Jewish and believe in Jesus. See, I didn't have a very good Jewish experience as a Jewish person. I
Okay.
was
Okay.
really ashamed to be Jewish. I
Wow.
experienced anti-Semitism.
Yes.
I didn't, for me, it was just as well. Let me take this Jewish person off and I'll be a Christian. And she's saying these things. And I was like, oh, okay. So that first day, she invited me actually to a Rosh Hashanah service at a Messianic synagogue. That was that one that you read about that we were at 11 years ago. And,
For 11 years.
we were there for 11 years. And so I went and I walked in and I was just blown away because it wasn't at a church. Okay. It was at like a business park,
Right. Right.
facility. So it didn't have the accoutrements that really in a Jewish person's heart, a cross has a lot of negativity, unfortunately, because it's equated with anti-Semitism. It's equated with the Crusades. It's equated
Yes.
with a lot of things that Jews feel. But this place was this business park. It had a Star of David up there. For me, I could relate to walking into a facility that had like a Jewish flavor. It had all this liturgical prayers that I had grown up with, and it said Yeshua, Yeshua, and I was like, who's Yeshua? And that's where I learned that that's his name that we've been calling Jesus, Jesus, but his name is actually Yeshua, which means, the active form of salvation. And so I walked into this place and it was amazing because there were people of every nationality. There were people there who were probably Jewish and people there who probably weren't, but they were all celebrating him on this holiday. And it was the very first time of celebrating Rosh Hashanah my whole life where it was like filled with life.
Wow.
It wasn't an empty tradition. It wasn't a bowl of soup and a kreplach. That's what we have on Rosh Hashanah. It was like, for those of you who don't know, it's we made it finally after 29 years. But I mean, it was just like it was alive, and it never went back. I got to celebrate that first fall feast
Wow.
in the context of finding my Jewish Messiah, and it was alive. And I'll tell you, since that first Rosh Hashanah Yom Teruah, it has never been the same. It's always been amazing. And I walked out of there just like that is what was missing in my Jewishness was the life of Yeshua. And I immediately had a burden, not only for my Jewish brethren who need to know their Jewish Messiah, but also the larger body of Messiah who know Jesus, but are missing the context of who he really is. And
you experienced some healing there too with the one that you met at the door.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I even forgot. When I walked in that day, there was a gal.
A greeter.
Yeah, she was a greeter. I wouldn't know a greeter because I never was at a congregation. But she had a Star of David on, very similar to what I'm wearing today. And she was about my age. And I asked her, I said, "Are you Jewish?" And she said, "No, but I love my Jewish Messiah."
Wow.
And that I almost fell on the floor because I never heard, Jesus equated somebody loving who he is, a Jewish Messiah. And that healed me because I believe that I was so anxious to be a Christian so I don't have to be Jewish anymore because I really probably carried a lot of shame and a lot of personal anti-Semitism about myself, which, you wonder how, some Jews today can be so, far away. And so that was a really powerful thing. And it's been amazing, and we after that time, I mean, after that time, there was a lot of pain because I changed. That 10 months being a newlywed, finding Yeshua the Messiah, there was no going back. Wow. And so in my personal life, in my first marriage, it was very difficult because that husband wanted nothing to do with Jesus, Yeshua, nothing, wanted the the person he married back. And so there was a lot of pain in that. And so, we didn't have children. And after 7 years, he divorced me. But it was amazing too, because, in that time, I really learned how to hold on and hold on to God, to hold on to Yeshua. And, I started dancing in that time, and the dance was quite healing as well, So that's how we've been walking. And we just last week I did 29 years of walking with Yeshua on Feast of Trumpets. So
That is so awesome. Now, Ralph, I know that you are from Ohio, in the Cincinnati circles, and now I want to hear about your background too, up to the point where you danced your way into your wife's heart there. tell me about your background, Ralph.
Well, I was brought up in a Roman Catholic home. My father actually was born in Italy. And so that's all I knew was as a Catholic. And I wasn't a very good Catholic, but nonetheless. And I came to a point in my life where I needed help. I started to actually read the scriptures, and I started from the back of the book in Revelation. And that kind of scared me a little bit, into submission. But I did have an experience where I just went out for a cigarette, and I said, Lord, if this is true, I believe it's true, you got to help me. And this was back in 1984.
Wow.
And so I had an experience where I put my cigarette out, and this gold mist came down around me.
Wow.
And I was like looking around like, does anybody else see this? There's nobody else around. And it just dissipated, and I crossed the street, and I felt like I crossed from darkness into his marvelous light, as the scriptures say. And from that point on, I was just radically changed. I was going to Church on the Way with Pastor Jack Hayford. I went to his church for a few years, and really learned a lot from Pastor Jack. Then I moved back to Cincinnati, and was ministering to a fellow who was Jewish and doing my best. And I looked in the phone book. Remember those phone books that are really thick?
Oh yeah.
And I was looking for Jews for Jesus. That's all I could, that's all my mind knew.
Wow.
And I turned to Messianic Synagogue somehow. And so they were actually praying for him, because this fellow at work, he had a question. He apparently called about a dozen synagogues, one being this Messianic synagogue, and they had been praying for him. And so I took him. We were going to meet there, but I walked into this place, Beth Messiah in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Wow.
And I just went in, it's like a cloak room, coat room. And I felt like I was home. Everything was pristine. Everything just was like, I felt like I entered my home.
Wow.
And that was back in 1988. And since I came from a dancing background, Italian folk dancing, ballroom dancing, I thought that's all done away with. That's my old self, Dancing is no part of my life anymore. And they kept coaxing me into dancing here at the Beth Messiah. And I said, no, I was resistant, You need to be resistant these days, I guess. And I resisted, and for 6 months, but they must have found a crack, I guess. And I've been dancing this way for 32 years.
Wow.
32 years. And I'm very tired now. But I'm still going.
I love it. Well, there's a saying, Ralph, that when you come to Jesus, you don't quit dancing. You just change partners. And isn't that true? Isn't that true
is
for
true.
both of
I've never
you?
heard that.
It's true, man. You know,
That
and
is good.
oh yeah, yeah. It's such an extraordinary story because, you know, first, you know, Mindy, for you to go from Judaism to Christianity on your own is miraculous.
Yeah.
And then Ralph to go from being a Catholic boy to not a Christian, but Catholic to Messianic. That's huge too. You know, folks, people have
Yeah.
no idea what others are going through until you step into their shoes. The anti-Semitism has been around for so long. And so you can't, until you really look into that. And you know, the Christian Western mind does not understand the reason why your Jewish friends don't want to come to your Christmas pageant or to your Easter pageant, because they know the origins of those holidays better than you do. And for terms like Messiah, you know, and things like that, the Western Christian mind cannot really grasp the full context of that until they really step into the shoes of a Jewish person. And isn't it interesting, Ralph and Mindy, how many believers don't even realize to this day that Jesus, Yeshua, was Jewish? You know, Malcolm Smith in the 80s really was the first that I heard giving a Hebraic context to Scripture. You know, in Bible college, and I went to Bible college, I graduated Bible college, worship, children's, music, pastor, you name it. And we were always told context is king, context is king. Let me tell you something. You don't really learn the context until you step into the Jewish world to see the culture
right.
and to see what was going on. Talk about, no wonder so many preachers, and I love you, but no wonder so many of them are bored and resulting to preaching sermons about 7 ways to overcome a bad mood. No wonder they're bored if they don't know the context of Scripture. But Jesus, Yeshua, he's the context of Scripture. When you can step into those shoes, then you get a full picture of what he was saying and how incredible it was, the things that he was saying in the culture he was saying it in. You know, and so you two know what it's like to not only know the Jewish Messiah, but you know the Messiah, you know Yeshua, you know Jesus. And it's just so exciting. And then your backgrounds, it's no accident that God brought you into each other's lives, you know, and all that you've accomplished. Now, I'm not sure how much of your backstory you've gone into before on GLC, but, you know, with all these new viewers, Ralph and Mindy, we want people to know your story because out of your test comes your testimony, and out of your misery often comes your ministry. And so you two are extraordinary. I was so excited, even reading your bio as well. Now the question is, was it California where both of your paths crossed? Where did you finally meet each other?
In Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah, at the congregation that we attended for 11 years.
Wow.
From about 1992.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, yeah, I was wondering, because when I saw in your bios that both of you spent, you know, 11 years in the congregation, I bet that's where you met. You know, how long were you attending before you married each other?
Well, okay, so this is very interesting. I like this.
You like this story?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of go because, okay, so I walked in, and I think that was their very first like high holiday service on that Rosh Hashanah. Okay. And it wasn't a huge well, I wouldn't know. Everything seemed huge to me because, you know, I hadn't been to a congregation like that. And so as I said, you know, it was very exciting. I wanted to go the next week. Well, you know, in the fall we're in the middle of the fall fall high holidays. Yeah. And so it goes for about 5 weeks, right? We have you know, Feast of Trumpets and Yom Kippur's coming up, and then Sukkot, and so it's quite a long time of holidays. And so I loved it. I was transformed during this time. And they had some dances, you know, they had people who were doing some dances, and I liked that. But after the high holidays, they started their regular Shabbat service. And I'm trying to tell my first husband all of this. And he just, you know, wanted to make sure I wasn't in a cult, you know, what are you
Right, right,
doing?
right.
Why are you doing this? And anybody who's been walking this way for a while, you know, like food became a huge issue and, you know, all that stuff. But anyways, I remember coming to the one or two first of the Shabbat service after all the high holidays were over. And how it went is they would do about 40 minutes of praise and worship,
Right.
announcements, and then the message. They would do a Torah service and then the message. And I'd never been involved in praise and worship. It was different during the high holidays, okay? Because there's certain, where we were, there were certain liturgical prayers that I was very familiar with and songs that were familiar, you know, dance here and there. But the worship service was something I was completely unaccustomed to. I could not stand it. People had their hands up in the air. Everybody seemed super emotional. And after about 15 minutes, I had to go stand outside because it was like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Wow.
And I had to wrestle with that. They weren't dancing at that point. I was like, oh my gosh, I like this. I believe the Bible. I want to just read the Bible, but I don't like all this singing and whatever they're doing. And I remember there were people sitting outside smoking a cigarette. And I just thought, I wish I smoked because this is horrible. And I really struggled. I thought, I can't do this. You know, this is not what I signed up for. It's too whatever it was, you know?
Right, right.
And I came back in that day, I think it was one or two Shabbats, and they announced that they were going to start doing dancing classes once a week. And this is what I thought. I thought, okay, maybe if I learned to dance, it would make the time fly. And then maybe for the dance a few minutes, then I can go stand in the bathroom until they're done singing, and I'll come back out. And honestly, that is what my thinking was.
That's super spiritual.
I know. And so I think the next week or two I came, and somewhere in the dance class back then, because it was quite a long time ago, some of the songs were crossover songs from the church. I remember they did a processional, really just walking around a circle, raising your hand, you know, your hands up, to Our God is an Awesome God. Okay, just the chorus, you know, Our God is an awesome God, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm in this circle and I'm concentrating and I'm thinking about Yeshua, and they had a scriptural application, and something completely transformative happened. It was as if I was in front of the throne of God.
Wow.
And it was so powerful. And I immediately got what it was to worship. I completely understood.
Wow.
And that, I mean, I didn't dance for a while in the services, but you better believe when we got together for the next Shabbat and they were singing, I was able to enter into that powerful worship, not dancing.
Wow.
And it was wonderful. And so I got what the idea and the concept of worshiping Yeshua was. And so during this time, you know, I just, you know, I clung on to the Lord. I loved the scripture. I came to Bible studies, and it was amazing. Now, there were years, because then I started dancing and I was in there, but in my personal home life with my husband, it wasn't well. He didn't like the Lord. He didn't like what was going on with me. And it was very difficult for years, and for 7 years, actually, as I said. But what would happen is I remember I would go to dance class, and I tried everything. You know, I tried not going to the congregation. If he would go to church with me, I tried, you know, it was like I tried to do everything that I could do short of giving up the Lord. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I knew I couldn't do that, but I tried to work on my marriage. So there was a lot of pain. And I remember this one time I was a believer for about 2 years, and I was given the commitment to move chairs for the dance class. Okay. I lived back then, maybe even today, Messianic synagogues were far. I lived an hour away, but I went every week or twice a week. And so I took this commitment at the dance class to move chairs.
Wow.
And it was a very difficult day in my life. And I remember driving there to move the chairs. Why am I doing this? This is just so hard. I wish I didn't have to do this. And I got there and I thought, well, I'll just move the chairs and then I'll just go somewhere. And because I felt terrible. If you had to go through what I went through that day, you would understand. You know what I'm saying? That was my thinking. And I got there and I moved the chairs and I thought, well, I have to move the chairs in 2 hours. So I'll just dance and then I'll move the chairs back and go home. And the thing is that I did the dancing and something happened. I just felt elevated. I felt like the Lord restored my soul. He healed me, because everything in my life was exactly the same. I was going back home to my situation, but I realized that the Lord, he met me in the dance and ministered to me. It kind of gave me my breath back again. And it was at that point I realized how important worshiping is to him and how transformative the dance can be. And I just continued doing it. I realized that it was very important to continue doing worship, continue what I'm doing. I'll try to acquiesce where I needed to in my home, but it just continued to be very difficult. As far as Ralph, I knew Ralph, in his life, and but I was very focused on working on my marriage. We were all in the same community. He was in his life with his marriage. And he had been a believer longer than I was. As a matter of fact, he was on the council. I'm going to share this if that's okay. He was on the council. And I remember him getting up one Shabbat saying he's going to step down from the council because him and his wife were having problems. And I thought to myself, well, that's good that he's doing that, but I also, over the years, because there were a few years in there that I thought, they're believers. They should just be sucking it up and just working through it. I had no compassion because I just felt like, here I am married to somebody who's an unbeliever and I'm doing my best. But believers of all people should be able to work out their issues, and so eventually I know in Ralph's life that, their marriage ended. And there were several more years where I was in my marriage and then I couldn't do anything. My husband, he divorced me and I could not do anything about it. And this brings us to another Rosh Hashanah. I had a lot of, like I said, a lot of judgment towards believers who couldn't work it out in their marriage, And now here I was, my unbelieving husband divorced me and I'm in pain. It was very terrible. And we got to Rosh Hashanah again. And, we went through Rosh Hashanah. And one of the traditions that congregation did was a tashlik, was from Micah, where you go out to a body of water and it's very beautiful. You cast rocks or bread upon the water, symbolizing your sins. Okay. For us, it was wonderful because there would be all kinds of secular, or not secular, but Jewish congregations who weren't believers in Yeshua. And we were out on the beach as well, doing it, worshiping Yeshua. So it was kind of like an outreach as well. But I remember being out there. And during this time that we're in right now, one of the traditions that's supposed to happen is we're in these 10 days of awe where we're supposed to reconcile our differences with our brothers and sisters in the Lord, as well as God. But that's one of the traditions that's taking place. And I remember we're at this tashlik and I'm there and Ralph approached me, came up to me and he said, I just want you to know that I want to apologize to you if I've ever offended you. And I was so convicted because he never did anything to me, but I had this huge judgment towards him. I never shared it, but it was like I looked down my nose at him because him and his wife couldn't work out their situation. And it brought me to a place where I just said, look, you never did anything to me, but I'm really sorry. I judged you quite harshly in regards to your, marriage. And after that happened, something happened. I just saw Ralph as a man with quite a bit of integrity. And I just kept it, I was actually, because, it's a congregation. And at that point I was leading. Was leading dance, and I didn't want to, it's like a workplace. But the Lord, brought us together. Ralph came up and asked me after that time if, we wanted to go out for coffee. And so
She said no.
I said no.
No, I asked her to go ballroom dancing,
Yeah.
actually, but we still have not done that.
No. But we did go out for coffee. And at that point, we thought we were going to get married. That's what happened.
The very word shalom, nothing broken.
Yeah.
And look what happened. Look what happened. You had two scenarios that fell apart that surprised you, but it wasn't a surprise to God. And isn't that what he does? He takes things that have been decimated at times, with the ashes, beauty from ashes, and creates something that, from what it sounds like, a better marriage combined than it was before apart. And I'm so happy that you talked about that, because there's people watching today, as you've been listening to Ralph and Mindy talk, you've been seeing some footage of them dancing. You've been seeing their website, Messianic Dance Camps.com, where I want to encourage you to look at these, because now, as we're about to go into the next part of our show, we want to know what they're doing, how they can be a blessing to your group, to your congregation, just like they are to congregations all over the world. But you know what? Hearing your story, you two, it makes me even more motivated to support your ministry, even though I don't officially dance, but I do a little bit, but for fun. But on a serious note, in terms of the worship context of dancing, a lot of you out there, you've wanted to see people do that at your worship services, but you don't know how. You don't know how to get started. Why not go with a ministry that is comprised of individuals that have been through the fire, and they have experienced firsthand the restoration that God gives, the beauty from ashes. And not only that, but making beautiful things come out of that, inspiring you two to develop dances. And again, 26 of these DVDs so far and counting. I'm so glad that you two are together. I'm so glad that you're with us at GLC again. Now, going into this next thing. So you are working together and you're helping churches. I'm curious, when did it start that you branched out to help other congregations begin their dancing ministries, and what did you see?
Well, it was, we've been married now for over 22 years.
Wow.
And the ministry started shortly after that. And so it's been about 20 years now where we've been developing curriculum and going out to countries, and to 7 countries and over 700 congregations, teaching worship through dance.
Wow.
And that's what we love to do. And really, the dance can only be understood, I believe. I mean, people really enjoy it. They can watch it, and they can become inspired by it, maybe even be healed by it. But it's like the Torah, the wisdom is in the doing of the Torah. You don't understand it really. You can appreciate it, but to understand the life and the walk that we have in Yeshua, you have to experience it by doing it. And we experience him, as it says in Zephaniah 3:17, that he rejoices over us with singing. So that word rejoice at the root in the Hebrew, it is gil, which is a whirling about. So to rejoice is really to dance.
Wow.
And so he's dancing. While he's dancing and singing over us, we're doing the exact same thing with him. So it is transformative and it is healing. We've seen many healings, um, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mainly. And to give you an example of a physical healing, we were in Fresno, California, with Rabbi Amnon and Lynette Shore, and this couple came in from Hong Kong, and he was an international dancer, and he wanted to
Wow.
try Messianic dance.
Okay.
And so we're doing our dance camp. It's about a 3-hour venture. And Mindy's teaching, and his wife came over to the table, and she was speaking very thick speech impediment. I couldn't understand her really. My daughter actually did better understanding her. Well, come to find out, she was deaf. And during the dance camp, the Lord opened her hearing, opened her
Whoa.
ear, and she could hear the worship, and she was healed of deafness. And so the husband said, this is the dance. This is the dance that is talked about, we believe, in Psalm 149, where it's for the children of Israel. So they stayed at that congregation for a couple years, but it's a transformative thing that people really don't understand. We see in the scriptures where David's wife, the daughter of Saul, Michael, she didn't understand the dance,
Right.
and she was barren actually because she judged the dance, and so it's a very powerful, for me, for us, it's our mode of worship. Our preferred method of worship is we can express through prayer and dance our love for God this way.
Wow.
Oliver, since we started, the Lord shows us as well. And I know, you're Brent, you're saying, oh, I don't really dance. But what we really try to do is create an environment where the Lord can manifest and be in the center of the circle. You hear scriptures like he's enthroned upon the praises of his people, where two or more are gathered. He's in the midst. And that's what our heart is for him to be in the midst. And we always start with very simple movement to try to make people feel comfortable. I always say, I make tons of mistakes. And so should you make a mistake?
No, you don't.
Yeah. you're in such good company, just to have people to break down those walls that we all have, because we don't want to feel silly. And
well, it's cultural too, because in Israel, the men are the ones who actually choreograph and teach the dance. 95% of the time.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, and the women join in, of course, but we believe that it's from temple times when the priests there would be singers, there would be musicians, there would be dancers there, and so we believe that it's culturally that way.
We just, especially since we've been in this whole pandemic thing for the past year and more, when it started last year, we didn't know what was going on, at all. And we were scheduled in March of 2020 to go to the Pacific Northwest.
Wow.
And we had a full 2 weeks of venues, and one canceled. And then we're hearing all this stuff come out. And I called a friend who I always see up there, and she was completely freaked out. She was like, I'm not going outside, and this thing's killing it, And so we didn't know what to do, because we felt to cancel it at that point, because I have kids we have kids, and we didn't know what to do. My sister is here. So we had to dance. And so we just went online like everybody else. We did Facebook Live, we did Zoom. We just did what we had to do, because we had to do it. We had to worship him. And we found that even doing that, people needed to have that connection, to worship him, to do this.
Right.
And so, we ended up going out in May for like 6 weeks. And then we've changed a bit. We've changed what we've done a bit, but like Ralph said, we'll be going out on Wednesday for a few weeks. And, this is what he's given us to do. And, that's it.
He's faithful in what he's done, what he's given to us to do. And we're continuing to do it.
I'll tell you, I have to tell you that when we did the shows at GLC, Come Join the Dance, at the time we did it, it was really exciting. Okay, it was exciting, but we couldn't get it. We couldn't get the shows because we were in Nevada, and we just didn't have access to the satellite, to the shows, and all that stuff. Right. And so, but we did see some copies of it, and we loved it. And so, I just have to say,
we watch it online sometimes.
Yeah, we would try to watch it online.
Sure.
Technology's gotten better since that time, but we've had an opportunity to see all the shows. And they were beautiful. And I hope people, especially if you're new out there, get a hold of GLC. These shows are amazing. Now, we're a little bit younger and thinner, but not much. Not much. And I'll tell you, they're so great. The only people who grew are our girls. They were really little, and now they're really big. And one just got married. So they're beautiful. And what a ministry tool as well. So we're just, we're grateful to be able to.
We've really been blessed by GLC, God's Learning Channel, and with these programs. And we've been sending them out to our supporters. And we're going to actually commit to support GLC ourselves.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah. And so I understand that even $30 a month, you're trying to build back better, right? And your people could do that easily, $30 a month for GLC. And I want to encourage that, because they are a blessing, and God is going to use them mightily, and you'll be a part of it.
Well, I'm glad you said that. It's so important to create positive media, and also to protect freedom of speech. I was told the other day, this is the last network of its kind in its category that's not being censored. And I've produced other television shows on different networks, and I can tell you that you can turn off the lies and turn on the truth with GLC. Sounds like a great catchphrase, doesn't it? But it's true, is that we have got to speak our mind. We still have the freedom of speech. And folks, GLC is on a new wave of momentum. A lot of viewers returning to the fold, a lot of new viewers as well, a lot of voices. There's been people that have come to the Lord in recent years, and you're seeing some of their interviews on GLC as well. You're going to see faces from the past. You'll see John Schlitt of Petra and people like him, and then you'll see new artists that are out there serving the Lord. But in this genre of media, not just true news, not just inspiring interviews, but I'm looking forward to seeing these dancing shows as well, and even new stuff that you two do, because that's media too. And during COVID, there's no better way to perhaps learn a new skill than to go to Messianic Dance Camps.com. You've been seeing the website the whole time. You've been seeing some footage of them dancing as well. And you know what? Check this out. You're going to love this with Ralph and Mindy Seta. Watch this.
Come let us go up. Come let us go up to the mountain approach his holy place. Only the one with clean hands and a pure heart. Who can ascend his holy hill? Who can approach his holy place? Only the one with clean hands and a pure heart. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Lift up your heads, O mighty gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, so that the King of glory may enter in. Nations will come to celebrate. Adonai will teach us his ways, and the God of Israel will send the rain. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. And the law will go out from Zion, from Jerusalem his word. All creation will know your name, forever your praise is proclaimed. And the law will go out from Zion, from Jerusalem his word. All creation will know your name, forever your praise is proclaimed. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Come let us go up, come let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. Who can ascend his holy hill?
Okay, we're back. Is that awesome or what? You know what? I'm going to replay that, guys, and I'm going to dance to it myself. And
All right.
it's probably a good way to lose weight as well. You know, get in shape and learn Messianic dance all at the same time, right?
Now that dance
That's
was
right.
an advanced dance, and actually the man in that dance is not Ralph. That's a friend who came in from Israel.
Okay.
And on that one, but there's many others on that project and others that he's part of. But that's an advanced dance, so you take it slow, piece by piece by piece
Right.
by piece.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've been recovering, and I had some meniscus problems and physical therapy, and but I'm back.
Yes.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Oh, we remember that.
Oh yeah. Hey, he was Jewish too, right? Cotter. You can't beat that. Welcome
Yes.
back, Cotter.
Just
Well,
that piece of-
well, again, you know, folks, for a lot of reasons, you got to check out this incredible ministry and this couple. What a great story. A beautiful couple. And you've seen them on here before, but you might not have heard their whole story before. You know, I tell you what, I have more respect for people who have gone through the fire and lived to tell the tale and choose to walk towards the light, choose to glorify God with their talents and their gifts. And that's what you two have done so well for so long. Now, Mindy, you I believe last I heard you were working towards your doctorate with pastoral care and counseling. Are you still doing that?
Yes, it's slow, but I'm in the dissertation process. And
Uh-huh.
I had wanted to, what we found in the dance classes, many people would show up. I mean, what we do in a 3-hour dance class is we'll teach usually 3 to 4 dances. I'll give a testimony. And we've been approached many times, at least, many times, many times. And about people who are going through some really hard things, many people with PTSD, emotional situations, and the dance has helped them. And I just felt it was really important, because this is what we do to undergird our dance, undergird it with like a professional degree. And, many of the people who would share are people who had experienced some kind of trauma. And during these days, these recent days, I think we've all gone through some kind of this is unprecedented, what everybody's been going through. But yes, I had years ago just trudged along doing schooling. And so now I'm at the end of it. And you can pray for me, because this is it's a little hard at this point. And, but I'm pressing forward to continue. I'm like in the dissertation process.
Wow.
It's about a year still, but that's where I'm at.
What accomplishment, and hats off to you there. And I know that you're a team in all that you do. Again, I've seen you before, but it really is a privilege and a pleasure and an honor to interview you today, and to hear more of your amazing journey. Great couple, beautiful couple, fantastic ministry, never more needed than it is right now. So be sure and visit their website. Now, what's the best way people can get behind what you're doing in addition to buying product?
Well, we have great visions of what he's calling us to do. If you'd like to, on the homepage, just send your email, sign up for the emails, and you could follow us if you'd like to come and see us at a dance camp. We may be near you, so we let you know that way. If you feel led to donate, we very much appreciate that as well. Purchasing our DVDs, our curriculum, helps us immensely as well.
We have lots of resources, and we want to help as much as possible.
Anyone that's putting out 26 DVDs in less than 20 years, that's a big undertaking, but it's motivation, it's gifting, it's a calling. So,
Brent, you'll understand this. We started when there was a thing such as videos. You remember?
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember.
First 3
my
were VHS.
My first album was on tape. That was the new that was the new thing. Got the tape? Got my tape?
Yeah.
Side A, side B. Woo.
Yeah.
But anyway, all that is, hey, we you know what? There will be a day that we'll get a new body. We'll live forever.
Amen.
But
That's
until
right.
then, it's interesting watching the progression of this nation. And that could mean a lot of different things. And also the body of the Messiah. But I'll tell you what, get in on ministries like this and fellowships like this, folks. Find out what God is doing and get behind it. And get behind the ministry of Ralph and Mindy Seta. They're going to
Thank you.
They're going to edit.
You did good.
They're going to edit that. Let me say that again.
Oh, okay.
Get behind the ministry of Ralph and Mindy Seta and Messianic Dance Camps International. So thanks for joining us today. And I look forward to talking to you too again in the future. And thank you.
Amen.
Thank you for watching Light of the Southwest.
Thank you.